Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone? Don't know if anyone can hear me. If you can, type a one in the chat. If not, don't worry. So the reason for this live, no particular reason. I'm just, out and about. I thought I'd go live, see if there's anybody that wanted to talk. If there's any topics they wanted to discuss. Yeah, just let me know. And yeah, nothing to do with fitna, please, if you don't mind. What else? Bear with me. Am I even live? I don't know. Who's there? All right. Oh, there's people in the chat. Let's see. British Pakistani atheist. Oh, you're still alive, are you? Long time no see. Where have you been? And Abu Bilal al-Maghribi. Wa alaikum salam, brother. How are you? Long time. Hope you're well. Yes. Why don't, yeah, how about one of you two jump on, or both of you? Just see what's going on. I'd like to learn something today if I could. Like, maybe somebody's got something to teach me. If so, that would be nice. What could I learn? I'm well, thanks. How about you? Oh, yes, good, good. I'm well as well, thank you. Alhamdulillah. I don't know if you saw my video, not video, but I shared a video as a community post, British Pakistani atheist. A talk by Bilal Phillips on atheists and atheism. You got utterly destroyed. Your ideology is finished. Atheism, come on, that's a joke. A complete joke. Like, not even a joke, it's lunacy, it's idiocy. Atheism, can you believe that? Some people actually try and argue that there's no God. Hey, Joe Baz, how you doing? Yeah, no offense intended, British Pakistani atheist, but yeah, I don't know. Atheism is just ludicrous. Absurd. That is really the word for it. Absurd. Oh yeah, big up Abu Bilal for that. So yeah, what's new with me? I guess nothing. That okay, everyone. Sorry, can you hear me? I just got interrupted by a phone call there. So somebody type one for me, please, just to confirm you can hear me. Then I'll jump off and jump back on. Yes, sorry, I was interrupted by a call. Yeah, I'm back. So yeah, I see the one there. Your take on last night's stream. Which stream, Jobaz? Which one are you talking about? Talking about Hamza's Den, whatever it's called, the arena. Is that the one you're talking about? Or the Jordan M live stream from the car? The Jordan M, not rant. What does he do from his car? He just chin wag. The Jordan M chin wag. And I'm not sure which stream you're talking about, Jobaz. Hey, alhamdulillah. So yes, somebody asked me to collect some shopping from some groceries from the supermarket. So I went to the supermarket on their behalf. They placed an order online. Went to the supermarket, and what did they have? Nothing. The guy at the supermarket said, "Oh, sorry, sir, but we received your order, and the guy who was picking your items was halfway through picking them, and then he tested positive for COVID. So he went home. Therefore, there's nobody available right now to pick the rest of your items. Would you mind coming back tomorrow?" Can you believe it? Like, what would you say to that? There's nothing you can do, is there? I mean, that's a pretty I wouldn't say it's a good excuse, but every business I've dealt with that makes an excuse, they always use the COVID word to get out of it. Just don't deliver what you're supposed to deliver and blame COVID. Alaikum salam, Mr. Birdnest Ratfest. How are you, brother? So, come on, any topics to talk about? I've got a lot to talk about, a lot to go through, but I just don't find the time to dedicate and do a live stream. I'd need to use a laptop and share some videos with you all. That's so much that I've got opinions about that I want to share. Will you name and shame the company? Joe says, British Pakistani. Possibly. Joe Baz, your take on last night's stream, the features. Oh, the features. Yeah. I was on his show last night, Joe Baz. I went on there. Well, he went live twice, I think. Yeah, I was on the first show. The second one is where he started talking about an individual from Hugo's Speaker's Corner. Yeah. What did you make of it? I mean, I didn't watch it. I tuned in and out like very quickly. I do that. I channel surf sometimes. I'll click on a link, see what they're saying, type something in chat, and then disappear. So I didn't really catch. I guess the gist was, it's really an anti-Spubs sentiment he was sharing. Yeah. And the individual he's talking about in his video is definitely a Hizbi. The word Hizbi is somebody who's like partisan, a groupie. Yeah, they're a groupie. He's a groupie. What do you think of the path Saudi is going down? React. Okay. Trying to think of how to word this, but all right, let's discuss what is the path that they're going down. The path they're going down at the moment is becoming best of buddies with Israel. Correct? That's what they're doing. They're becoming best friends with Israel. Now, any country, but no, sorry, they're becoming best friends with Israel, and in doing so, they're alienating and breaking their friendships with all of the historic ties that they had with other, let's call it Muslim countries, Muslim in quotes. Okay, so oh yes, big up everyone, big up House of Comments. How are you doing, Ralph? Hope you're well. And one less as well. Yeah, so every country, their primary interest is what? Their primary interest is their own success, their own preservation, or what's the word is? Their own benefit. That's what their primary interest is. So Saudi Arabia is doing what it thinks is best for its own country and for its own interests. Now, why is it that teaming up with Israel is in the best interest of Saudi Arabia? Why do they think that? Is it because that's what they truly believe, or is it because they're coerced into that position, right? And why would they do that? Not only with Israel, by the way, but they're also doing so with India. So they're teaming up. And what's interesting in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لتجدن أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا الذين قالوا sorry, what's the ayah? لتجدن أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا اليهود, I believe. Who knows the ayah? If somebody knows it, please. I'm trying to remember it. لتجدن أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا الذين اليهود. Sorry, I can't remember the end of the ayah. The verse basically says, you will find the people who have most enmity, the people who are most severe as opponents and enemies to the believers are the Jews and the people, and the polytheists, the people who do shirk. Those are the people who have the most enmity and opposition to Islam and Tawheed. And you'll find that those who are closest to the believers in terms of love are the Christians. Those people who say that we are the Nasara, the Christians. Yet what's happening in the case of Saudi Arabia is they're teaming up with the people who have the most enmity and hatred to Muslims. Why are they doing that? Why are they teaming up with the Jews and the Hindus? When I say the Hindus, I mean the mushriks, the polytheists. The people who we know, as described in the Quran, are the ones with the most enmity and hatred and opposition to Islam. See if this is a troll account at the stream. Hello?
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Oh, alaikum salam. How you doing, brother? You good?
It's meant to say Abu Zainab. Abu Zainab.
Abu Zainab. Yeah, big up. Yes, welcome aboard. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah. How's things?
So yeah, there was a question in the chat. What do you think about the path that Saudi Arabia is going down? So I just quickly pointed out that what we're observing with the Saudis is that they're building ties of love and friendship with Israel and with India.
Mm-hmm.
One is a Jewish country and the other is a Hindu mushrik country.
Mm-hmm.
And these are two peoples who Allah has described them in the Quran as those who have the most enmity and opposition to the believers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You'll find Allah said, do you know the ayah? If you can complete it for me. I remember the first part. لَتَجِدَنَّ أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ عَدَاوَةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا.
Yeah, Al-Yahuda one. Yeah.
وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. Is that the ayah?
Yeah. I think it's in Al-Ma'idah, Surah Al-Ma'idah.
Yeah. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ
أحرس الناس. Yeah. أحرس الناس. Hold on, let me try and find it.
Yeah.
I think it's towards the end of Surah Al-Ma'idah.
وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. And you'll find that those who are closest to them, right? أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً. with love and affection, you could say, are those who say they're Christians. So they're the closest to Islam, right? Yet these Saudis are teaming up with not Muslims, not Christians, but Jews and Hindus.
No, it's just economic, though. It's just economic. It's not.
Yeah.
Because of course, America's still going to be their biggest ally in terms of arms sales and whatever. I think they've always. Okay, for example, the Gulf countries. Let's just say, I don't want to say Gulf. Yeah, the Gulf countries, they've always relied on the Indian subcontinent as a source of cheap labor, and I think that was always the plan. That's always been the plan, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you read the book, Tales of an Economic Hitman.
Yeah.
It's a book by an economist. I've forgotten who wrote the book, but it's quite famous. It's just about how, like in the 70s.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Yeah, I know.
Yes,
yeah,
that one, yeah. So it kind of explained what the economic model for Saudi Arabia would be. So you would have American companies, but the workers would never be, the people, like the general workers would never be like white Americans would hold a higher position.
Yeah.
But your general workers would either be coming from, I think it's about will come from basically Egypt, Sudan, Lebanon, India, Pakistan, etc., etc. And that's been the Saudi model for the past, even before I was, do you get what I'm saying? Maybe the past 50, 60 years. That's been their model. And obviously, I think with the pandemic, what's happened is, there's a lot of empty flats, real estate in Dubai and Emirates. I think Biden's putting pressure on the UAE in particular to give residency to work, to improve the conditions of the workers. Like, would you boycott the World Cup?
What do you mean? You mean
Or,
me
okay,
as in?
If someone says to you, I want to go to the Qatar World Cup is due to start, 11 months? Some people are, like the way some people are saying, Mecca, Medina is Muslim land, and because of whatever Saudi Arabia's path and some of the stuff MBS is doing, some people are saying boycott Umrah, for example.
Are they saying that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Some people, or they're saying boycott is one word and reclaim it. They're saying that Mecca, Medina, Hijaz is Muslim land. That it should, maybe we should put someone like Erdogan in charge, or some people are saying, I don't know how that would logistically work. It doesn't really make sense, but because no country really gives up territory, but so okay, going back to the World Cup, for example, but it's the first soccer World Cup in the Middle East or in an Arab country. And we know many workers from Nepal, Bangladesh, India, they were treated very badly and even died building those stadiums. And their bodies, they weren't given proper janazas. If the Muslim ones weren't, any bodies were just basically sent back in wooden boxes to the country of origin. There were a few articles in The Guardian, but obviously the mainstream media didn't report this. Maybe just one or two articles in The Guardian about how bad, because the stadiums were built in record time. And again, the architects, so the people who designed the stadiums were British companies. Yeah. But the workers doing the construction, the construction people were all from, countries where people are exploited.
Hmm.
So Nepal, Bangladesh, India, etc.
Hmm.
But yeah.
I
So
would.
for example,
I
a
mean,
lot of Muslims.
if somebody chooses to boycott based on those sentiments, I'd have no problem with that. I couldn't criticize someone for doing that. That's a noble thing.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a noble act to boycott something due to an injustice or an oppression.
yeah, but I don't know. It's difficult.
It's like with which country? Some country decided. I think it was Malaysia, or yeah, I think it may have been Malaysia. They
Mm.
decided not to allow an Israeli
Oh yeah,
participant in one of the sports. I don't know which one it
badminton.
was.
I think it was
Yeah,
badminton. Yeah.
and so the whole event was cancelled as a result of that by the international sport body that manages the sport.
Mm.
So boycotting, right, is like it's not allowed. Back in the days of South Africa, there were boycotts,
Mm.
right, weren't there, against
Mm.
South Africa? But with Israel, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to boycott Israel.
Mm. Yeah, that whole history of South Africa is very interesting. I was seeing some stuff. But you know that it's like maybe a lot of millennials don't even know who Desmond Tutu is or was, or you see, because it's been even before. It's kind of like South Africa's deeply disturbing history. It's almost been whitewashed. I
Yeah.
think it's not taught in schools.
True.
Like
It's not.
it's just, so why is the BBC talking about Desmond Tutu's death if most people, we weren't taught about him in school?
Yeah.
So if I wasn't taught about him in school, what is someone who's 25 being taught then?
Yeah.
Probably nothing. Even less. Obviously, I know he was just from, he's kind of like Mandela's right-hand man. He was a anti-apartheid activist and whatnot. But he's just, whereas people like Tony Blair, they're getting a knighthood for killing 1 million Iraqis. That's very interesting.
Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that any action he takes or took was on behalf of the state, on behalf of the state that's recognizing him with the award. They didn't oppose him.
Yeah, the Queen. Yeah, I think it's apparently it took him longer. Apparently, they said in these awards are given to everybody.
Yeah.
And they said these awards are given to everybody, and that I don't know if he had to wait longer than John Major.
Yeah.
Allahu A'lam.
At the same time, from Tony Blair's point of view, his primary interest is the success of the United Kingdom. Now, if he sees that the United States is going to initiate this global empire, right, based on the PNAC documents of the Project for a New American Century, if he didn't align himself with the United States, the UK would be finished in the international stage. So it wouldn't be as successful as it is now.
War. France didn't partake in that war.
France, correct. Well, didn't they? I don't know. I think they did.
No, it's basically, it doesn't mean, France not partaking doesn't mean France was pro-Islam. Do you see what I'm saying? A lot of people make that mistake.
Yeah, they partake in different ways. They'll ban the hijab and spread Islamophobia.
No, it's the spoils of war, basically. Yes, Aluna Kanil Anfal. Basically the spoils of war were being, like you're saying, Tony Blair wanted some of the contracts.
Yeah.
Oil, infrastructure, whatever, where they're rebuilding the country. British and American companies are going to take the larger piece of the cake.
Yeah.
And then, so France, I don't think, because I think France's oil company is called Total or something. It's a different, yeah. So France has its own colonial infrastructure, which is mainly, I think it will be in Africa, basically, North and West Africa. They don't tend to get contracts in the Middle East. Except maybe Lebanon, there's one or two, but I don't think,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how it'll be interesting to see how that history is written, you know, between 2004 up until, you could say now, but you could say 2004 to 2014, because you could argue that Tony Blair, he was responsible, you know, for ISIS. He created ISIS indirectly.
Well, it wasn't indirectly. It was, yeah, exactly. It was, we know that who created it and
I'm just trying to
operated
be
it.
nice.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be nice, but
yeah,
no. But again, all this is going to be whitewashed. Do you see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
all of it. So when we see refugees, like it was interesting. I saw something online, and it's like, so why are we being made to hate refugees? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I see why if then I see, like, you know, we forget this history, the invasion of Iraq, the so-called Arab Spring, and then the Daily Mail or the press is going to show a Syrian kid or an Iraqi person as such an evil. Do you get what I'm saying? But Tony Blair is a knighthood. It was even more than a knighthood. Was he made king of the realm or something? It was like a whole title.
What did he get?
It's a special title that only prime ministers
KBC.
Is like, yes, special order of the Knight of the Realm or something. Like, it's only former prime ministers can get it.
That's a sir, isn't it? That's just
so it's a sir.
Oh, okay.
And his name was Sir Anthony Charles something.
Tony Blair.
But you could argue, but he was domestically, people say he did very well.
No, man. No. He did very well at plunging the UK into the biggest debt of its history. Okay, that's what he did, and expanding government and pushing some. All he did is, plunge the government into unprecedented levels of debt through Gordon Brown. I remember when he came to got voted into office or whatever. He one of his manifestos, he gave this speech. He said, "We're pumping £700 million into the NHS." Well, where'd you get that money from? Well, it didn't exist. He was borrowing it from the future. And then later on, Gordon Brown comes along and borrows even more money to rescue us from this debt disaster, the credit crunch.
Yeah, but all governments borrow, don't they? Is there any government that doesn't borrow money?
Yeah, but there's borrowing that you pay back, or borrowing that can be reasonably managed. Otherwise, you have uncontrolled inflation. But that inflation that we've got is focused on the housing market. So that's where they dump most of the inflation. And you see the housing prices go up, property prices, shall we say, go up manifold. Every 10 years, you used to see a property crash. And the price of property comes down and becomes affordable for a few people who may have saved up. But that doesn't happen anymore. We get what's called quantitative easing.
Yeah, where they print the money and stuff.
And too big to fail. All this nonsense. So we really have a form of socialism rather than capitalism.
Yeah, but the UK has always been, or European countries are more, compared to
the US. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you have, I don't know if education is free anymore, but we allegedly have free education and free health.
I like Corbyn's idea of renationalizing the railways. I think there are certain sectors which there is no way of having like a free market or of competition. Certain sectors you can't have that, and those are sensible sectors to have.
Of course, most
public ownership.
The UK is such a small country. Most sectors you can't. It's like, look, remember when BT used to be a government company, British Telecom? Yeah. How can you privatize that? Whoever owns it, you've inherited a monopoly, more or less. So the only thing that can challenge BT would be like Virgin Cable, but it's like everyone already was using BT before cable. So inherently, the person or the people or the company, or I don't know who owns BT now. It's still called BT, but I don't know if it's the shareholders or I don't think there's one owner, but it's still more or less a monopoly. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. They had an unfair advantage in the market. They were already established. In one sector did benefit from competition. That was the mobile phone market. That certainly did.
But that was new. Do you see what I'm saying? The difference is when mobiles came, they were new. So you always had you were like Orange, T-Mobile, or what was
Mercury, one-to-one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So one-to-one didn't come, and it's like we were already on one-to-one. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And you could have O2, EE. You see, whereas certain things in this country, it's like, say, if is the post office private? Yeah. Or is it still government owned?
Yeah. It's private.
Yeah, the post office is a monopoly. It's the original Royal Mail. It's like, who can compete with that?
Yeah.
And you've got
there's no other post office out there. It's just
Yeah, can I choose? Is there a different post box where I can put my letters in? Well, not that.
Yeah, that's right.
I think anyway, but I'm just giving the example.
Yeah.
So a lot of things here you can't, or the people inherit the infrastructure. You're going to inherit a monopoly, more or less, and it's good. So the railways, having this East Coast line and West Coast and Virgin trains, that's just a stupid idea. Not that, it's just and it's like, isn't it the actual rail line is still kind of government owned? So
Network Rail.
Yeah.
And it gets subsidies from the public anyway.
It's just foolish. This is just corruption.
It's fake capitalism.
Yeah, it's corruption, and Richard Branson gets richer again. You see what this is like?
Richard Branson.
The guise of competition.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's not true free markets. It's not free and fair competition. No. Like if let's say you got one bus that serves your route, the route that you need, that takes you from your home or your street to your place of work. Now, if that bus route doesn't perform, it's not like you can get up and get a different bus. You don't have that option. You have no choice because there's only one bus company that manages that route. And they own that route for about 5 years. So free competition means, all right, if that bus isn't good, then I'm going to take a different bus company. Like with the airlines. If one airline isn't serving you, you take a different airline. But with the buses, it's not like that. You have to wait 5 years for that contract to be renewed, and enough people to complain about the route that they don't win a renewal of the contract. So, yeah, that's not a good example of free markets.
A lot of things are very dodgy. What else? And even that's why Rupert Murdoch complains. Like the BBC, more or less, has a monopoly.
Yeah.
The media here, it's not a free market media. It's not a free media.
Yeah, true.
You used to have 4 channels, and okay, whatever those 4 channels, what, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So, and then the BBC can't even advertise in this country, can they?
No.
So, again, that's what I'm saying. So the media here, it's state propaganda, which we pay for by the TV license.
Yeah.
And we're told it's a free media. Is it really?
No, guess not.
And I'm sure
That's
even
probably,
ITV, I'm sure ITV gets government funding as well.
probably, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So a lot. Yeah, this country's not like America, where it's like, I think there's more. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Hyper capitalism in America.
Yeah. Definitely. But would you say but has capitalism failed? I think it's failed.
I wouldn't say capitalism has failed. I'd say how it's applied, right? How it's like a tool, really. You can misuse a tool, and that's what happens with capitalism. It's just a means of trading, I suppose.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you deregulate the market.
Yeah. Well, that's when we say regulate. What do you mean by regulate? Here's the problem with regulation, or people's understanding of regulation. The purpose of regulation is to ensure that markets remain free and fair, and you don't allow things like monopolies and what they call insider trading. Although I don't know how you can never avoid insider trading. But it's really to preserve fairness and freedom in the marketplace. Because any successful company is going to use corruption or lobbying to manipulate markets for their interest and for their benefit. Now, that's what regulation really is about, is to protect the consumer. If those regulations are removed, then yeah. But then you may have other types of regulation. If you're talking about tax, where tax and certain types of regulation may be put in place as a result of certain lobbyists in the public complaining because they want, like socialists, they want all these successful businesses to be taxed beyond belief. Then that's unuseful regulation, unfair regulation as well. So the regulation, I think personally, as long as it's in the interest of the consumer to protect their interest and prevent powerful companies dominating and cornering the markets, then that's good regulation. Yeah. For example, in the pharmaceutical industry, they're regulated, they're heavily regulated. Certain of those regulations are going to be very useful, aren't they, to protect the public from harmful medication and negative side effects. But a lot of those regulations were scrapped because of COVID, weren't they? to push through this experimentation on the public instead of in the laboratory. So, did you know with these vaccines? Did you know that a certain percentage of people receiving vaccines are receiving placebos? Another percentage are receiving like a 50% dose, whereas the other percentage are receiving the full vaccine. So what you're seeing is they're actually doing the experiments on the public with the actual vaccination program.
Plus, anyways, the antibodies, they only last 6 months. So,
is it?
Yeah. So
the vaccines are temporary. They're not You're not a permanent.
No, they want you to give as many as possible. If you see it like that, I don't think, but I think anyway, this from what I've seen, or not what I've seen, but from what I can tell, I think this year we'll just be living with the vaccine. We'll be living not with the vaccine, we'll be living with the virus.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. Boris is, very laissez-faire about COVID, so we'll see how January pans out. But I think it's...
Somebody's got a question in the chat, Abu Zainab. Question from Oneness is, what's your opinion on Priti Patel British citizenship deprivation or revocation?
Well, okay. So when will we okay, so we have to go back to, like, when were we British anyway? First of all, I think from the time that I've been at school, it's always been kind of clear that we were second-class citizens. When I say we, or ethnic minority, because over this pandemic, people have been using the term BAME a lot, Black and minority ethnic, or Black Asian minority. So, and I think after September 11th, or maybe even before, every application, whether it was just for a job at Sainsbury's, or if it was a UCAS form, they've always been collecting statistics on ethnic minorities. Like, they always ask you, and you can refuse to answer this question, but they can probably tell from the name anyway. And so I think they've always been collecting data with regards to this stuff. And so Priti Patel, she's being, well, she probably knows she's being used, or she doesn't mind her own personal trajectory, or whatever, she wants to be prime minister or whatever, I don't know. It'll be interesting because there is precedence. They have been deporting people who are born in other countries but have been here for like a long time. So you saw with Windrush, and you saw with different things. They are, So I think, you saw this coming with Tony Blair, and for the past 15, 20 years, Muslims and people have been otherized. And some people have been deported already. But I think with this new change to the law, you can't contend it, can you? You can't. I think if they decide to strip you of your citizenship, there's no appeal with this new law.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the difference. So there's no, basically, if you're out of the country and they remove your passport, that's it. You can't challenge it in the court or something.
Wow.
So similar to what's happened to, Brother Tox in Syria, and what's the other? Shamima Begum.
Yeah.
They've just been told, Masala, you're gonna die in the Syrian refugee camp.
Yeah, apparently her kids died while she was out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they didn't. It was a miscarriage or something.
Oh wow. Yeah. So do you think it's really to target Muslims, or is it just for?
No, it'll be anyone. It's not just going to be. It will be. It's not just going to. I think the war on terror is over. By the way, I think that's the last decade. I think the war on terror is over now. I think China's so powerful that Yeah, the war on terror is over. But this will be like, it could be a black African, doesn't necessarily have to be Muslim. But if you do like a serious, like GBH or something, or a crime, and if you happen to be born in, say, Sierra Leone, and you came here at the age of 3, 5, 6, 8, and then now you're 25, and you commit what they regard as a violent crime or fraud or something, they'll just, she'll push through for deportation instead of what they say to the judge is that there's no point keeping this person here for 10, 20 years. It's a waste on the taxpayer here. We should send them back to their country of origin.
That's fair though, isn't it?
I don't know. But it's being used.
That is fair. But yeah, I think what you're saying is that although that is a reasonable use of the law, it's going to be misused, isn't it? It's going to be misapplied.
Yeah.
I mean, if you let someone in your home as a guest, for example, and you're willing to consider them as even your family at some point in the future, but while they're there, they start stealing from your home, right? Then you're going to kick them out. You're not going to keep them there. So the policy makes sense. That you invite people in, and if they're here and they commit certain crimes, then goodbye. I guess the concern is people who are born and raised here and have what you call British citizenship, or people who are not born and raised here, people who came here and obtained citizenship. And that once they're a citizen, at that point they should be considered equal to everybody else, right? But if their citizenship can still be revoked, then they're not equal.
That's the whole point. So that's what we're saying. It's a 2-tier.
Yeah.
So
correct.
Okay, the
It's
guy
a form of
who's
apartheid.
regarded, the guy who's regarded as indigenous, he goes out on a Friday, Saturday night, and gets involved in a fight outside the pub. But he's drunk whilst he punches someone. See, he's never going to be deported. Whereas Abdi, if he does the same, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it sounds fair, but I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it's a 2-tier. You can see how it's going to be misapplied.
I could see it. It's fair up to the point of a person having citizenship, right? So if a person comes here applying for citizenship and during their wait or during their period of application, they commit certain crimes, goodbye. But once they're a citizen, to then say if they commit some sort of mistake or crime, then they're going to be deported after they've got their citizenship, then, or they're born here, their kids, for example. To me, that sounds wrong. They do that in Switzerland. I remember when I was living in Switzerland, they introduced that same law. So they're you could, if you're a migrant to Switzerland and you have kids and your kids commit a crime, they'll deport you and your parents. Like they'll deport the kid and the parent. So
that's nice of them. Why don't they start giving the money back? All the money that's hidden in Switzerland. So when they deport, are they going to give all the money back at the same time? All the illegal money that's in Swiss bank accounts?
I don't know about that.
A very dodgy country, Switzerland. Very dodgy country.
Yeah. Abu Bilal says, obey the rules or leave. One would expect the same if they were in your country. Yeah. They'll do to everyone that they did to Begum if they have parents that are not ethnically British. Okay. All right.
And
What
this is
about
the
this
whole
then?
point.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's the whole point. So with the Begum,
Hmm.
with Shamima Begum, she, you know, she didn't come from anywhere.
Yeah.
So how can they remove her citizenship?
Hmm. Yeah,
She was
I don't get it
born,
either. Yeah.
and she was born in England.
What do you think of this comment from Abu Bilal? I don't believe citizenship should be given to foreigners. Residency is enough for us to live equally.
Is it though? I don't know. But
I think he's using Dubai or somewhere like that as an example.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, he's gonna have to define resident. What does he mean? But is this ikama, like just a working visa? What type of? I don't know.
Yeah. That's what he means. Just like
Yeah,
Dubai.
yeah, yeah. But that's a total. These are countries with poor human rights records. We're not discussing. You know, I'm in the country to work, and if I lose my job, I'm going to be kicked out.
What if they give you like a permanent visa, right? A lifetime visa?
No, I have that for Australia. I have a permanent residency, but you have to apply. It expires. You have to apply for citizenship.
Okay. Within a period of time.
Within 4 years or something. Yeah. And by the way, Australia started copying the laws in England, so they're deporting like second generation people who've been there from the age of 6, but they're in their 50s now. So that's what I'm saying. So look, people make mistakes when they're young. So now you have these biker gangs in Australia. They call them bikies.
Yeah.
So me, you, and the Aussie join a biker gang.
Yeah.
Why am I deported? So it's something that a group of people do as teenagers. People make mistakes, like Shamima Begum. So now why is
with some people it's an irredeemable mistake, whilst with others it's tolerated.
Yeah. And biker gangs have nothing to do, bikie gangs have nothing to do with ISIS or whatever. They're just people who ride around on Harley Davidsons.
Yeah.
And some of them do drugs. It was like antisocial behavior, which, like, antisocial behavior, is it just restricted to one group of people? Or so children of immigrants have to be doctors, lawyers, and dentists, otherwise they're no use.
Yeah.
I don't know, is that fair? I don't know.
Yeah, well, Fahima says ethnic minority people, no matter their citizenship status, they will deport them. Okay, that's what we just heard. We need some fairness in the matter and create leavers laws for leaving happily. Well, don't you think Muslims can benefit from such an idea that Birdnest just said? Why not support such a thing and say, yeah, look, Muslims want to leave, they want to go to their own country. Why don't you help us establish a land for Muslims to emigrate to? And we'll leave as Muslims. We'll all leave. What do you think of that? A land where Muslims, whether they're immigrants or if they're, what do you call the word, converts or reverts, everyone can go to that Muslim land. That'll make everyone happy.
I don't know, would it?
And if any Muslims want to stay here and continue living here, it's up to them, isn't it? Well, at least.
But where would this land be? Where would it be?
Canada. Big enough.
In Canada?
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Well,
minus 35 or something.
Other countries are too hot, right? So you either go somewhere where it's too hot or it's too cold. But at least the infrastructure there is good enough for Muslims to live. And it's big enough. Kick the French out and give us the French Canada.
Oh, Quebec. Yeah, but don't be like. Well, Canada is a very easy place to migrate to, if you have the right skills. But
there's no incentive for Muslims to go there, is there, at the moment?
But I think there's a lot of Muslim
if we made
migrants
it a Muslim country, then Muslims would now be incentivized to move there.
They wouldn't allow that to happen because it's been.
Why not?
Remember,
Nobody's asked for it, right? Why was Israel given Palestine? Why? Because they asked for it. Who's asking for anything for Muslims? Nobody. Hello.
Alaikum, actually.
Alaikum salam. Big up, Ralph. How you doing?
Very well, man. I just was flying through. I was busy having dinner, and I heard the last few comments. I thought, I'll jump in. One thing you need a Muslim nations with the security of nuclear weapons. Otherwise, it's going to be a victim of colonization or global interference, wouldn't it? That's the biggest thing missing, isn't it? There is no secure nuclear power. They can say, here, Islam is safe, right? That's the problem, isn't it?
Well, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and it's not doing much good for them.
Yeah, there's some infighting and crazy things, but you want that kind of level of security, isn't it? Pakistan's nukes are compromised, aren't they? They're American controlled, right? So they're actually not completely controlled by Pakistan, right? So that's the problem. If you had like a secure, safe place for Muslims, go, okay, we can guarantee the next US regime won't come around and start like bombing us and giving nitrates to Tony Blair, for example, right? That's what you need. I mean, that's a crazy thing, isn't it? But anyway, how are you doing, my man? Just fly through a quick one. I won't stay long.
I'm good. It's good to see you. So I was watching a bit of your interaction on. Somebody recommended you. You were on a show. What was the name of it? This lady, I think it's a trans woman, actually.
Oh, Amy, there's the anti-God.
Amy Newman. Yes.
Amy Newman. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Newman. Yeah.
What could you say? Oh no, I sometimes go on and off if I sleep too late or early. I jump onto the American skeptic panels, about 5 or 10 of them, just to test their arguments against God, right? So I've been in there a few times, and they're very, very cautious. They're very sensitive. Isn't it funny how sensitive they are to people believing God, right? I mean, I'm pretty friendly for the most part, but they don't like their science being challenged, right?
Yeah. They conveniently don't understand what you've got to say.
Suddenly they don't understand that there's limits of logic or the limits of reason. Suddenly, if you point them or if you mention certain expressions like signs of the gaps, they get really upset. Like, okay. And I thought you guys are meant to be really secure in your atheism, right? So, did you watch it? I mean, did you watch that? I was on for an hour.
Yeah, not all of it. I think I watched about 15 minutes from when you jumped on.
More than enough, right?
I watched the rest. How did it end up? How did it end up?
I've been there a few times before. I had to go there. I had to take the Frau for a walk and stuff. But it's funny because on one hand they always say, "Oh, we deny reality. We can't." You believers in God deny reality, and I'm like, you're sitting with a guy who's pretending he's a woman, right? And you're telling me we deny reality? I mean, you're kidding, right? But you can't go there, man. You just can't open those doors. They get really sensitive. So I've been on before, and 6 months ago, and then I was blocked in the chat for about 3 months. I went back in again because I just challenged them.
They are really sensitive, aren't they? They always kick people off and block you if you differ with them.
They're very, the funny thing is, you find most people, the stronger your faith is, the more, I feel, I don't know if you agree with me, actually, the more calm and comfortable you are, right? The closer you are. Yeah, I don't feel like you're not going to throw my moral foundations off in any one chatter screen. That's never going to happen, right? But these people get if you just challenge certain basic ones, they go, oh, right, danger. He wants to talk about trans people. And I mentioned to one of them, which is a really big one that has hundreds of people watching, and they wouldn't let me on until I gave them my pronouns. I was like, I mean, what? I mean, you like, what do you want to call me? Him, he, Lord, Master, Emperor? I mean, what pronoun do you want? It's just Ralph right there. And I came on, they said Ralph, he, him. I was like,
Oh,
wow,
gosh.
it's crazy, isn't it, man? So, yeah. But how, what else has happened? You have a good, nice New Year, family? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's great. Thank you, Ralph. No, nothing
Working too
special.
hard? You've been carrying lots of...
Yeah, just spending time with family, to be honest. It's been good.
Yeah, that's the best thing for that and stuff. I looked at Speaker's Corner videos today to see if there's any interesting Dawa things, and it just looked really cold and dark and miserable, man. It looked like everyone was
like, yeah. I'm just around the corner from there. I'm wondering if I should go. But okay. I think most people leave at this time, don't they? So,
I think you get the night crowd until I think they usually come by now and stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you think? The other interesting thing I heard you say, and then I'll leave you chaps on, was the friendship with Israel thing's quite interesting, isn't it? The politics in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It seems like there's some Middle Eastern nations or states are performing all sorts of really interesting moves. I would have never thought we'd see these relationships being formed with Israel, right?
So why do you think that is? What's driving? I mean, these relationships have been there for many years, right? Ever since their peace treaty, the Egyptian peace treaty. But it was always in secret. So they've always been doing deeds or deals behind the scenes. I mean, there's a photograph of Ariel Sharon and the head of Sudan and some prince of maybe Saudi. I can't remember. Yeah, and it's an old black, sort of almost black and white photograph. It's that grainy. So they've always had these links and relationships, but they've never publicly declared it. Now it's official policy.
Oh my God, I still have a spanner, by the way. You probably want to take that off in case you get into trouble. We don't try. I just noticed I have a spanner still.
No. You're like.
I think it's Israel is trying to. I think Israel itself is also trying to break a little way away from U.S. foreign policy. I think Israel is trying to create multilateral relationships and look to, let's say, some of the Gulf states and stuff to go, hey, if we can do some trade and peace, right? Because they're not really militarized, right? So, Qatar or those states are not very militarized, right? They depend on the US or Saudi for protection.
Yeah.
And I think they think if they can do commercial deals, they might be able to sort of maybe split the kind of general anti-Israeli sentiment. So I separate anti-Israeli sentiment from anti-Jewish sentiment. So, because definitely the Muslim world is anti-Israel for for obvious reasons, right? And I think that maybe the Israeli position is to try to kind of maybe split that a bit, right? Kind of soften it, do commercial deals for high tech with like Qatar, Doha, places like that, right? For especially high tech stuff, right? I think that's probably part of that deal. And obviously the big concern is Iran, isn't it? So that's, for Israel, right? So I'm not sure they can make unilateral moves against Israel.
But Israel hasn't really had an independent economy. And that's something they need and they're looking for. They've always depended on the So what they get from tying up with Dubai is the tourism industry, because they can benefit from encouraging Muslim tourists to the Holy Land, not just Jewish tourists or Christians. But so Dubai has sort of excelled in hotels and airlines, bringing people to visit their country. So they're going to try and benefit from that. I remember reading about this when Donald Trump was arranging the Abraham Accords. This was one of the key arrangements they were trying to build. But what was I going to say?
I think you're the money on that, because I think there's also the long-term strategic view. If they think that the United States may get more progressive increasingly, then the left wing of the Democratic Party is going to be anti-Israeli. So they might be going, we can't necessarily rely, on the long game for a guaranteed U.S. Foreign policy or economic aid, right? Yeah. So they're probably hedging themselves from. But then the question to ask is, why are the Muslim nations, also why are nations like, Qatar, Doha, they're just doing this because it's in their economic interest? Because you'd expect unity on the Palestinian issue, right?
I'll tell you what it is. I think from their side, every country, again, their primary interest is their self-preservation. So any act they do or any relationship they build with any other country is for their personal benefit. What are they going to get benefit from it? They spend. Who are the biggest lobbyists in the United States?
Israel.
Israel and the Arabs, the Gulf states. They're huge lobbyists.
Yeah, they are.
Even in the UK, that's why you never hear anything in the media against Saudi Arabia or any talk about the Yemen conflicts. No mention of it. So these are the biggest lobbyists out there. But the Arabs have understood that it's really I want to say Israel, but Jews. This isn't an anti-Semitic statement, but it's a fact that they have significant power in the halls of government in the United States. So by schmoozing up to the Jews, as they see it, they go into now that will help them with their aspirations or anything they need in the United States. They'll get the Israelis to also lobby on their behalf on common interests.
I think so, because they can look at that lobbying and all sorts of group experiences, right? You can look at one group, that's why I always say, like, if you look at the strength of the anti-Semitism legislation in the UK or anything else, and you look at that on par with Islamophobic legislation, Muslims in the UK are way behind the Jews.
Yeah.
Right? You try to do anything that's anti-Semitic in the UK, you're going down, you're going to get shut down. But Islamophobia, not a problem, right? You can do all sorts of things that are Islamophobic, right? And get away with it, right?
True.
So I think many ways groups need to look out for their own group's interests, be it religious or ethnic, and go, well, which groups are doing well and what are their best practices? And you're right. I think the best practices is to entrench your lobbying interests in other nations where you think it's in your own purpose, isn't it? So, and you're right about because I have lots of friends who've worked in defense and defense-related industries. No way is the UK government ever going to say anything against the Saudi Arabia or any of the large funding providing for the UK's defense industry. There's billions of pounds a year coming from Muslim nations, building all the South Coast, all the defense industry companies are all reliant on those contracts, right?
Yeah. So, and something interesting that I read 2 days ago, an interview with Donald Trump recently, where he's, like when he was president, he had a special relationship with Netanyahu, who was the Israeli president at the time, or prime minister, at the time. And he gave his support for the recognition of Jerusalem and the embassy in the United States to be placed in Jerusalem officially. So when the election was over, it was sort of contentious, and there was some talk about the Republicans challenging the result. Hold on a sec. Yeah. And then straight away, before Trump had a chance to challenge or contest the election result, Netanyahu gave congratulations to Biden. So Donald Trump was talking about this in his interview, and he's somebody that holds grudges for his whole lifetime. He'll never let something go until he gets revenge. So he's very, very upset right now. He was saying this in his interview. He's very angry with Netanyahu, and he wants to get him back. So he's hoping he can come back to power at some point, where he will have his get revenge on it. Yeah.
Isn't it sad that these because I believe Donald Trump is unholy and a corrupt man, right? That these corrupt people can actually run their own personal agendas, to which other normal people have to pay the price, right?
That's what happened in Saudi Arabia. Before the election where Donald Trump was voted as president, Prince Walid, who was a very rich Saudi, he was backing Obama, also not Obama, he was backing the Democrats. And then when Donald Trump got elected, Prince Walid sent out a tweet saying, "Congratulations, Donald Trump." What happened next? Straight away, Donald Trump got the Saudis to do a shakedown, right? He got the Saudis to arrest.
I remember the pressure was on MBS and everything, that pressure to get purged. I remember that very clearly.
He put them in house arrest in a hotel.
Yeah, didn't Trump then come like a couple of months later? Wasn't he in Riyadh or something?
Yes.
Yeah, just after that, right? Because I remember there had lots of not just one prince, had lots of people locked in hotels and locked in their big houses, right?
Exactly. It was a big shakedown.
Yeah.
He took all of Saudi's wealth.
This might be a controversial point of view, but I think a lot of these problems go back to what I personally, this is my personal view, is that I believe the House of Saud is formed on corruption from the heart. I think the Holy Land should be given custodian to some other Muslim authority. because the source of that authority is a corrupt US-backed coup, right, in the 1940s and 50s. The House of Saud are not necessarily, they shouldn't be the custodians of Mecca and Medina, man. That should be so. That's far more important than one family that is not, religiously necessarily legitimized, right? Enough Muslims disagree with it.
There is a movement calling for this at the moment, and Erdogan from Turkey is trying to position himself as the sort of independent, rightful custodian, if he can be, especially since Turkey were the Ottoman Empire in the past. So he's trying to position himself, and there's a lot of people talking about, we need to make Mecca, Medina independent from the House of Saud.
Yeah, I think it should be at least under some global kind of mufti, a global religious authority, right? It shouldn't be a political authority. It should come from a religious authority, right? I don't know how that would work in Islam, but I would assume that there's something like the House of Lords, but full of just Muslim clerics, right? Who do things like organize and control the lands, control things like, like the Vatican is independent of Italy.
Yeah, like a virtual,
a virtual state.
Governance. Virtual state.
Completely independent. The Vatican is completely independent. It has its own Swiss guard. It's not. Italy can't do anything to the Vatican, right? Because it would annoy 2 billion or 1.7 billion Catholics. The same thing. Mecca and Medina should be removed from the Sauds, but that's my personal view. Because I think it's too important to Muslims to have one family cutting back-end deals with the United States, cutting other deals with other nations. This is. It just sounds to me like it's malaligned with the religion, right? So, but,
it's a fair point, and it's worth discussion, definitely.
I'm not sure if it's quite topical or not. But I can't see Erdogan being a candidate. Can you? That's interesting, right?
He'll probably. I think his argument is that he'll convene a conference with different parties from different parts of the Muslim world, and he'll just be the chairperson of it, perhaps. But he's proposing something similar.
Right, so that would be reasonable, but not actual autocratic control. Like you can't give that control to a nation, a nation that became secular, right? So,
I don't know. They might be looking at it as like the OPEC thing, where you give control to one country for a period of years, and then it goes around. Yeah,
I think that would be reasonable. And then you give it to enough different types of countries, like give it to big Muslim countries that are not in that war, like Indonesia, Bangladesh, right? Ones that are geographically out of the Middle Eastern continent.
Even Nigeria.
Nigeria, Indonesia, Bangladesh, right? Ones are far away from the Middle East conflict, like geographically, but are strong Muslim nations, right? Indonesia is a strong Muslim nation, right? So, you think nations have that. Anyway, my man, so I'll leave you alone because I'm going to have to do something. I just thought I'd swing by, if that's okay.
Thanks, Ralph. Always welcome.
Take care. God bless.
Take care, mate. Okay. So, yes, everyone. Abu Zainab must have got disconnected. Don't know what happened there. But, Walaikum salam, Nikki Travis. So we got Trump daughter is married in Israel. Who is the gentleman? MBS Vision 20. Trump's daughter, if you're talking about Ivanka Trump, she is married to Kuchar, isn't it? What's his first name? I've forgotten his first name. Something Kuchar? I know you're talking about the dark-haired guy, and his dad owns a property at number 666 Manhattan, whatever that road is in Manhattan. I don't remember the name of it. Islam Saudi Arabia leader is allowed to do business with everyone, says Mohammed Hamdan. Okay, and fascinating comment. That's not the problem. Okay, what's the problem? Do you want British Muslims to segregate from the wider British society? Life is much better when you integrate, bro. No, British Pakistani atheist. I never said I want British Muslims to disengage from the wider society. That is what a certain element who are lobbying and in certain positions of power in this country that they want. They want to segregate Muslims from wider society, right? That's why they're constantly attacking the hijab and Muslims in the media. Look at France, for example, where they banned the hijab, banned it. The guy in Hungary, the leader of Hungary, came out with some statement about Muslims. they've all got legislation against Muslims. All of them. So it's not Muslims who are separating themselves. If you're talking about Muslim immigrants, right, then immigrants to the UK or to the West, they come here because they I don't know, maybe they want some economic betterment in their life. Who doesn't? But they come with their religion. They come with their beliefs and their culture. And these countries are trying to force them to disregard their traditions. Now, from those traditions is the way they dress. What's wrong with wearing a scarf on your head? Why is that causing so much offense to people? What causes these despicable people to control the media and push out propaganda insulting the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Like, why is that considered acceptable? Causing offense to millions of people. But yet it's not acceptable to do it against Jewish people. This brings me to another point. Why is it's not acceptable to do it against Jews, but it's acceptable to do it against Muslims? Well, number one is because Muslims don't really care. Muslims don't have a plan to tackle this agenda. All they do is react. They complain to the people oppressing them, begging them to stop the oppression. They go on marches and demonstrations saying, please stop attacking us. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So that's the number one problem. Number one is Muslims themselves. You got 200 Muslims in India, and they're just allowing themselves to get slaughtered and oppressed. Yeah, there's more to it. It's not that simple, but yeah, it's basically what it is. If Muslims cared about their own religion and took pride in their belief and their way of life, the kuffar would as well. It's when you don't care about it, people can do what they like with it. That's the number one issue. British Pakistani atheist said Bill Gates' daughter is married to an Egyptian Muslim. Yeah, Egyptian Muslim. And put that in quotes. Put the Muslim part in quotes. To an Egyptian, just say that. Well, or to an American of Egyptian heritage. Well, you think she's going to become a Muslim as a result of marrying him? And even if she does, so what? Like, good for her. I mean, if Allah guides her, that's good for her. Like some random person who's living almost in poverty, and they're from Cameroon, and they've migrated to the UK, and they work as a cleaner, and they took their shahada. Isn't that precious to you as well? Why is it just because somebody's from a rich family or they're white that you find them, you're proud of them becoming Muslims or coming close to Islam? All these Muslims that worship Jordan Peterson, look at him as a prophet. Jordan Peterson, who's he? Some random guy in America that supports the system of oppression and global supremacy. That's all he is. Why do Muslims follow him? You should have a serious discussion on MBS reviewing Hadith and Quran, the Israel relationship with Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I might do, inshallah. I might actually do a show where I'll prepare documentation and just go through it all. It might be worth doing. Saudi recently had a music festival where 700,000 people plus attended. At this event, a huge banner of the Saudi flag was displayed. What do we think about this? Well, cookies and cream. Muslim Twitter is up in storm against this. There's a lot of pressure within the society in Saudi Arabia right now. It's like, I won't say civil war. It's not violent, is what I mean. But there's basically an online civil war between the progressives, in quotes, the liberalists, and the conservatives. Yeah. So they're not silent about it. Okay, there's a lot of people calling out Turkey al-Sheikh. This Turkey al-Sheikh is this Minister of Entertainment. They call it Tarfi. He's the Minister of Entertainment in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, he's getting slammed all over Twitter, right? I met him at the Anthony Joshua fight in Riyadh against Andy Ruiz. Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz too. Yeah, I met that guy there, Turki al-Sheikh. Israel has 200,000 to 300,000 people monitoring the web. Oh, sorry, 200,000 to 300,000. What? 100,000 people? No, not that many. I'm sure it's not that many. And getting anything they don't like taken down. Well, it's happened to this channel, Abu Bilal. Yeah, they targeted. I have to share with you behind the scenes what's happened. Because I done one video about Dominic Raab and the Israeli lobby, and that video caused up a stink amongst some Zionist Israelis. So it affected my channel, which I haven't disclosed to people. I'll just keep it quiet. But yeah, there are definitely people monitoring the web, what's being put out there, and they try to destroy certain platforms. Cookies and cream. Prince Turki isn't the King Faisal's son. No, it's not Al-Turk. It's not Al-Turki. His name is Turki al-Sheikh. Turki is his first name. Turki al-Sheikh is from the family of the descendants of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, who go back to Bani Tamim. Anyway, he is just a minister. Yeah, that's it. Like the Mufti of Saudi Arabia, he's also from the same family, al-Sheikh. Is MBS attempting to whitewash? Do you have any advice? So Fahima L, do you have any advice for the Leaders International? For the Leaders International? Hamid Hamdan, bro. We're struggling to understand your comments. It's MBS attempting to whitewash his crimes against the Yemenis. You know, that whole Yemen conflict, it's invisible. Who's talking about it? Have they had to answer any questions about Yemen? And that Khashoggi killing, like, no repercussions. Huh? They must watch everything. His liberal policies have nothing to do with Yemen. He doesn't care about that. They should stop worshipping the Satan and come back to the Deen of Islam. Yeah. You know, this year in Saudi Arabia, they were even celebrating Christmas. Can you believe that? They had Christmas trees for sale in the shops. So they're going through a huge cultural shift at the moment, huge cultural change. It's causing some internal conflict, non-violent conflict, it's just conflict. Yeah. Sorry, I have to mute up for a second. He uses liberalizing policies to show the West how Saudi is reforming whilst committing horrific crimes against the people of Yemen. And also in these Gulf countries, they've had to revise their school books to remove verses from the Quran. Yeah, they had to remove verses of the Quran that speak ill of the disbelievers. When I say speak ill, that you know, talk about the Jews and the Christians, particularly the Jews and the polytheists. Those verses critical of the Jews and the polytheists are being redacted from the school books in a few of these Gulf countries. But I don't know why everyone's acting shocked. No need to be shocked, because it's what you all suspected all along, right? Now, what you need to think about is, if you were in the position of these leaders, would you act any different? And how can you answer that question? Well, just look at your own life. How you live your life right now. Do you behave any different? Or do you listen to the music of these people? Do you watch the TV shows of their people? Do you enjoy their content where they're insulting our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or insulting the Quran? Are you taking such people as friends and helpers? So let's look at ourselves. Sorry about the background noise. A lot of vehicles passing by. Please let us know when you want to have the discussion on MBS. You'll be shocked on things happening in Saudi. Yeah, well, hopefully you can tell me more about it when that time comes up. You can provide some of that information. And then you get the Spubs crew who want us to worship Saudi Arabia. Get lost, you can jump. You are not welcome on any Muslim platforms. Says Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year all. Thank you for the kind comment. Even though we don't celebrate Christmas or New Year as Muslims, but the fact that you were kind enough to send that, big up to you. MBS is whatever. We actually, do you still believe the Saudis went into space? Tony, whoever you are, sorry, I'm not letting you on. Not letting you on. Did the Saudis go into space? Well, there's some people who don't even believe that anyone went into space, right? So if you're of those people, then no. But I think it was the son, one of the sons of King Salman, who went to space. Apparently. Or was it the son of King Sultan, Prince Sultan? One of them. A documentary many years ago where he just talked about his trip as an astronaut. Reactionary. I know about the changes years back, but to this extent, it's worrying. You know, why is it worrying? Would you prefer it to remain more conservative and religious? Some Palestinians are Christians. Yes, they are. Nice. Okay. Who's going to my Christmas tree? The Muslims in the West are better equipped, as we have observed the sinful life, whereas the Muslims in the East aspire to be like the Western non-Muslims. Yeah, well, their countries are so poorly run, with so much corruption, that they look at the West and they see it looks like it's functioning wonderfully. They see people on adverts smiling, looking healthy and good. So from the outside, it looks wonderful. You know the saying that the grass is greener. Because to do anything in those societies, you have to use connections. You're practically begging for your whole life. Hey, so-and-so, help me. I need to get my nephew a job. Oh, I need to get a visa. Can you get me one? I need to get a visa for my employee. You know, use your connections. So your life is spent begging other people. The idea is you can come to the West and be independent, because everybody, you know, is treated more equal. That's the idea. Actually, unfortunately, most Indian Muslims come from lower caste Hindu stock. Unfortunately, they're subservient to high caste Hindus, unlike the Punjabis and Pashtuns, who made up most of Pakistan. Nice ethnic provocation there with your comment. So, I mean, you don't want to get us started talking about the Brelvis, do you? Oh, by the way, Pakistani atheists, do you have any Brelvi history in your family? If so, I'd like to pick your brains. If they went to space, Starbucks would have been there by now. Imagine they go to space and there's a bunch of aliens there, right? But the aliens are all like low-class ghetto people, right? And they've got their own version of World Star, right? Moon Star hip hop. And everything you see on World Star in the UK is like done by aliens. Anyway. I don't know if World Star is still around, by the way. I'm talking like how World Star hip hop used to be a few years ago. Then they're part of the demonic pedo gang that rule the world. If anybody wants to watch a good documentary, I may have said this before, but go and watch a documentary called Pedogate 2020. Yeah, Pedogate 2020. It's like 4 parts to it. And if you can't get it on YouTube, there's a channel called Mouthy Buddha. Then go to BitChute, and watch it there. Please invite Toasted to your stream. He is a great guy. Toasted, who's that? Is he a streamer at Speaker's Corner? Is he the Mexican dude? Ray Halot. We need to reclaim Israel for Christians. Thoughts on Iran being based? You're only equal if you follow their culture. What culture, though? You know? I don't know how comes these things are popular in the UK. You know, these rickshaw drivers. That's a great documentary. Yeah, Pedogate 2020. Excellent documentary. Very eye-opening. Jen Wallace, Happy New Year. Good up, Jen Wallace. Thank you for the kind comment. I mean, I don't celebrate New Year or Christmas and all that, but you know, the fact that you were kind enough to wish me well, I wish you well too. Hope all is good with you. Okay, are you specialized in combat sports? Says Gel B. Oh dear. See a live OG says, what's a day youth reactionary? I think you know what a day youth is, see alive. Why are you asking me that? It's actually in books of fiqh. It's discussed what is a day youth. There's a hadith which even mentions. Yeah. They use diasa. I'll look around. I'll go this way. Actually, what Bravi history do you want to know about? My grandparents' village didn't even have a mosque until the 1960s. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How you doing, Abu Zainab?
Yeah, sorry, I lost you there. I got cut off. I don't know what happened. So, what Bradley history do you know? My grandmother.
Gel B, should I let you on? I don't know if I should let you on. You might be a porn bomber. So it'd be very risky of me to let you on. I need to see a few more comments from you before I allow you on the panel, JLB. Don't want to jeopardize my channel.
Atheist. Is this person a real account?
Yeah. What's your view on vaccinators knocking on people's doors? Well, they need to make profits for the pharmaceutical companies. So the drug pushers. Yeah.
That's a lie. Look, it says the Bible. You have to disagree on that. What is it?
Yeah, interesting discussions going on here.
I can hear people in the background. What are they talking about?
I don't know, typical nonsense.
Oh, are you at Hyde Park?
Me? Oh, around somewhere, similar to Hyde Park. It's just rubbish. Nothing interesting. I'm gonna get on with my activity. Yeah. What's your view on that? Maybe answer that. Yet they had Iman, unlike you, who became a Murtad. Cookies and cream. So, yeah, his name is British Pakistani atheist, Abu Zainab. You there?
Okay. And it's a real account.
He's a he's a Murtad, a revert. He reverted from Islam to Kufr. Well, when I say from Islam, I'm not sure if he was a Muslim. He may be in a Barelvi. So it's more understandable. If a person said, I'm an ex-Barelvi rather than ex-Muslim, then it makes sense. Right? When people say they're an ex-Muslim, I think that's a mischaracterization a lot of the time. Can you explain what khara means? Says see alive. What's the context? Why are you asking about what that means? Do you know what that means, Abu Zainab?
No, I'm not sure. Is it an Arabic word?
Yeah, if somebody said to you, "Kul khara," that was yeah. It's not a polite use of language. Okay, but I don't know why she's asking that. Do you smoke marijuana? Says Jelby. So he asked about combat sports, then he asked about marijuana. Yeah, I think he's a troll who's been sent to do porn bombing on channels. So I'm not letting you on, Jelby. It's not just profit. There's a very sinister conspiracy going on, says Sahima L. Okay, tell us what that conspiracy is. What happened to Omar Ratboy? Is he still around? I don't know. Hopefully he's okay. Sounds like you're in America. No. I was earlier in the year, but yeah, I'm not there now. Barelvis are Muslim react. What? Are you sure about that? Are you making takfir of 60% of Pakistani Muslims and 80% of Indian Muslims?
They've lost their location. It's ending. Right. Okay. Cool. For me, is it?
Background noise. So British Pakistani atheists, do you consider Barelvis to be Muslim?
So their car is right next to us.
I mean, just because they're Pakistani, that doesn't mean they're Muslim. Qadianis are Pakistani as well, right? Then does that mean they're Muslim? Sahima, are you a Arab nationalist? Khara means shh. It's reactionary, not dictionary, says Nikki Travis. Hey, but for real, how come nobody spoke about the Sikh dude that tried to something the Queen?
Oh yes, that's correct.
What happened?
You know, there was a guy, 19-year-old. He had a crossbow, and he was in Windsor. He was in the palace.
Yeah, like
He
a few
broke
days
into
ago, right?
Windsor. Yeah, it happened over Christmas. Yeah, or the Christmas holiday period. And so, technically, and I think Priti Patel, instead of deporting him, said we're going to introduce new laws about the ownership of crossbows.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
He sounded very, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, his ethnicity and religion wasn't really mentioned. They went straight to mental health.
Okay.
And obviously, Muslims can't suffer from mental health.
Yeah.
They're always politically motivated.
Yeah.
Even though it's quite clear we're in a mental health epidemic due to lockdown, social media, etc. It's really like, but it was interesting. If you can find this, that's what she said. Oh, we're going to introduce new laws about the ownership of crossbows.
So did they tell us whether he belongs to that Sikh terrorist group? What's it called? Khalsa or something? Is he one of those Khalsa group people? You know, there's a history of Sikh terrorism in the UK. There was a British colonel, I believe, who, after coming back from India, this was in the black and white days, you know, like a long time ago, he was murdered by a Sikh. So this could have been somebody also trying to follow in those footsteps. Anyhow, but if he was declared mentally unwell, then who declared him that, by the way? Did he have a history of it?
He was only 19. I think he's 19. I think, yeah. Well, basically, you know what? I don't think he's been given a formal diagnosis as of yet, but the media are always careful with their language, so you kind of knew he wasn't.
Yeah.
They never use the word terrorism or terrorist, and
no,
it was just
maybe tourist. Maybe he was a tourist.
Yeah, lost tourist
up north. British Pakistani atheist believes that Barelvis are Muslim. Well, Mr. Atheist, I differ with you on that. Barelvism is another religion. It is not Islam. Thank you very much. Why not? You are not from the Arab country. Reactionary, why are some Dawah teams endorsing the vaccines? Yeah, exactly. Why is there no difference of opinion allowed amongst the Dawah people? Why are they all, what's the word? They all have a consensus with regards to the vaccine or vaccines, as though these vaccine companies have our best interest at heart, as though our governments care about us. On the one hand, people complain that the government is, anti-Muslim and doing all this stuff, but on the other hand, we ought to believe them when they want to put stuff in your body and modify your DNA. I'm not trying to trigger you, Abu Zainab. I know you've got your views on this. So.
No. I have to go back to work, so I'm not going to say anything that will leave me unemployed.
No one stands up for the honor of the Prophet ﷺ like the Barelvis do. What?
No, that's because they worship him. They think that's because it's like saying, that's like saying a Christian saying to us, Muslims don't believe in Jesus. No, we honor and revere Isa alayhi salam. It's just we don't believe he's God. So Barelvis have a problem with some of their beliefs regarding the Prophet. Like they've given the Prophet some attributes like Hadir Nadir, he's present everywhere. You know, his knowledge is. You know, yes, they've got lots of problems, Mr. Atheist. Yeah.
Sounds like what you're saying, that Barelviism is basically Christianity in an Asian form, using the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ instead of Jesus.
Yes. Very similar, and the revelation of the saints or awliya is very similar to Catholicism. So
Wow.
their revelation of scholars, may Allah have mercy on them, you know, that have passed away, like Abdul Qadir al-Jilani and different, maybe, I don't know what level they put Abu Hanifa on, but I'm sure it's a very high level. Yeah. So the revelation of people they regard as awliya and saints.
Wow.
It's very similar, and I think even the Christians said, yes, we need to target these particular type of Muslims. So Christian missionaries said, we need to target Muslims who believe in all this shirkiyat. We just need to convince them Jesus is God too, or something. I don't know. Yeah.
So you could say that. I did say at the start of the show I want to learn something today, and I actually have. Just now from you, you're basically telling me that Barelvism is the Christianification of Islam. When I say Christianification, just making a word up there, it means just turning Islam into Christianity, but not for Jesus, for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, they haven't said Trinity yet, I suppose, but they're probably very close to it because they talk about the Nur of Allah, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is made from the Nur of Allah. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Which is deification.
Yeah.
The Prophet.
So exactly. So they're giving the Prophet some divine quality. Like, yeah. They probably say, they will probably argue that they don't worship the Prophet. But obviously.
So why aren't our Dawah people speaking about this? Why aren't our Dawah people calling Barelvis to Islam? Why are they silent on this threat?
I think Dawah Man is the only person who debated. I think Dawah Man, in his debate with the Asra Rashid guy, is the only person. Because the Dawah teams have become a bit Masonic, where they've said we can't speak about our differences, and the Muslims in the UK are all one, and stop sectarianism and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Masonic. They do the Masonic handshake, you know that? That's interesting.
Who's JLB?
JLB is a troll who's come to attempt. He wants to jump on the panel and then change his avatar to a pornographic image, and then we'll have to shut the stream down. The Sikh guy's motive was revenge, but they have called it mental health. Yeah, what about the group that must have motivated the Sikh guy to do that? Are they being investigated? Who radicalized him? Probably Tommy Robinson. The Shia have done the same. Yeah, you can say the Shia is something similar as well. It's taking human beings and deifying them.
Yes, yeah. So they've taken Ali radiallahu and his sons, Hassan, the grandsons of the Prophet, Hassan and Hussein.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, very similar.
What's also interesting is that Sheikh, yeah, I've been told I must call him by the name Sheikh, Asim Hakim, said that Brelvism was started by the brother of the Qadiani group. What's the Qadiani name? Mirza Ghulam Ahmed. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmed, his brother is the founder of Brelvism. And according to them, according to Sheikh Asim Hakim, it was the British who told him to make this religion.
Oh, wow. So how did it gain hold of Pakistan? If 60% of Pakistanis, according to Mr. Atheist, are Brelvi. So how did it gain such widespread? Because Qadianis don't have that much support.
Yeah, you know why, I think? Because no one's giving dawah. Nobody's telling it like it is. With Qadianis, right, their scholars will say that they're kuffar. But with Brelvis, nobody says that. Everyone says, no, they're Muslim. If the moment dawah people start waking people up and saying these people are in another religion, this is not Islam, then maybe people will start waking up and leaving it.
I think that's quite dangerous. In a country with a history of sectarian violence, I think that's quite dangerous.
Then who can we blame then when people remain on shirk? And 60% of the country, 60%.
I doubt it was. I think this is just. I think the way Islam spread to Pakistan was by certain Sufis, and I think they just became like in that region of the world. Those beliefs became widespread.
Yeah.
Oh, Luton Kashmiri, who's this?
I was going to say he's an ex-Brelvi, by the way. Yeah, big up. He left Brelvism because it's not Islam. Yeah, because it's another religion. He left it. So big up. Allah guided him. But some people, I'm not saying Luton, but some people, if you criticize Brelvism, they claim that you're anti-Pakistani. What do you think of that?
I can see why they feel that way. It's not true, but I can see, because if you're practicing cultural Islam, which many people do, they take offense at certain stances. So yeah, it's like, for example, if you said don't follow a madhab,
yeah,
some people might say that's anti-Pakistani, or like if you mention certain things about Abu Hanifa, people they will take it as an attack on them. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's like in Saudi Arabia right now. There's many people who are complaining about this music and entertainment fest they have going on, right?
Yeah.
So the people in authority, their mouthpieces in the media, are saying that those people who complain, they're radicalists. They're anti-Saudi.
They're anti-MBS. Yeah, they're anti-government.
Yes, they need to be put in prison. They're calling for revolution and all that. They even said terrorists. They use that word. So nationalism is the call. It's a really evil sickness, nationalism, I think. It's the big problem that the Muslim Ummah has today. People have this love and attachment to nationalism. That's it. Not to Islam. The reason why many people are Muslim is because their national identity has selected Islam as part of their identity. Not because it's the truth.
Yeah.
So they take offense over their national identity rather than taking offense over the Prophet or against Allah's Tawheed being violated. That's what they should be taking offense over.
Yeah.
Do we not work on the premise that the people do or say things based on ignorance, jahiliyyah, and therefore, is it correct to make takfir on them reactionary? Says cookies and cream. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think that's yeah, I wouldn't really. Yeah, I think if someone, for example, most 80 to 90, I think like there's a lot of confusion in the Muslim world, etc. So if you're just like this thing about being born, if you're just someone's following Islam because their parents are Muslim and you eat a particular food during Ramadan, whatever, I don't know, some type of sweets or falafel or baklava or it could be anything.
Yeah.
Then a lot of
But
Muslims.
brother, what age does ignorance cease to become an excuse? Can a person remain ignorant until the age of 60 or 70? Like, I mean, until they die, and the excuse of ignorance remains through that whole time?
Because if you're not intellectually convinced that Islam is the truth, if you just see Islam as a set of rituals,
yeah,
or that, oh, in Ramadan we do this, we have some nice food, and there's Eid, and then at some point in your life, you're going to do Hajj. Because I think there's quite a large proportion of Muslims who don't even make Hajj.
Because?
Some might be because of poverty, and others just by choice. They just feel that, it's like a waste of money or something. I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, there's going to, so there's going to be quite a large percentage of Muslims who don't make Hajj. So, obviously not everyone can. They don't have the money to, but yeah.
Like, if somebody is worshipping a human being, like worshipping them, like praying to them, are we saying they're Muslim?
Oh, well, that the grave worship thing, I don't regard that as difference of opinion. So, I know there's some famous speakers that have said some weird things that you have to believe. What categories do they say something? You have to have a certain belief that the person you're praying to can help you. Or so I don't look. Grave worshippers are quite clearly, But this is the type of thing I'm saying. So you have these shrines in the Muslim world. So you have shrines in Iraq, Sudan, lots of places, even Syria.
Yeah.
And you see certain people going to them. So, for example, if someone says, Ya Rasulullah, help me.
Yeah.
But then we have to realize, okay, what type of Islam is being taught in the Muslim world? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like what's on the curriculum? For some of these countries, is there even a curriculum? Or is it just... You have to remember, I can send you a video. It's quite an interesting video. There's this New Zealand guy. He's touring northern Nigeria at the moment. It's called Indigo Traveler. I'll send you one of the video. But you have to realize, in poor countries, religion is seen for poor, stupid people. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, those people there, the orphans, go to the madrasa, whereas the other people with a bit more money get the secular education.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. It's like, there's a lot of countries maybe where people even can't read and write. So if they've just always been saying, Ya Rasulullah, help me, and or prevent me from being infertile, people making dua, I don't know. So Yeah.
Well, grave worship has a definition, right? Worshipping other than Allah means one believes that that individual they're directing their worship to or supplication to has the ability to answer their prayer and to give them what they're asking for. Yet, so if they're actually doing that, that is shirk, that is kufr. They're not Muslim. If a person is asking the person in the grave, thinking they can hear them, and they can ask Allah on your behalf, that's not kufr, and it's not major shirk. Okay, because the definition of shirk is to give something that belongs only to Allah to other than Him. Right. So if they're asking the person in the grave to call on Allah, what are they giving that belongs only to Allah to the person in the grave?
Yeah.
Nothing really, unless they call them from the UK, thinking that the person can hear everything. Then maybe they're doing shirk in, asma'i wa sifat, where they think the person can hear everything. Okay, but other than that, they'll go on a pilgrimage to the grave, and they'll speak to the person in the grave, asking them to call on Allah. Strictly speaking, that's not shirk, but it leads to shirk. Definitely, it does lead to shirk. And a child who's being taught that you can call on the person in the grave, how do they know that the difference between calling on someone to call Allah for you versus calling on that person alone? Same thing with Christians. That's basically Christianity in a nutshell. It's calling on Jesus to pray for you, or to a saint. Calling on a saint to pray for you, a dead saint.
Yeah.
Now that isn't shirk akbar in and of itself. There's a fatwa on this by Ibn Baz. He explains it. But if the person prays to the one in the grave and says to the saint, "Oh, can you get me a job, or give me an increase in wealth," thinking that person can do it, then that is shirk, because the attribute of giving wealth or provision, that belongs only to Allah. So by giving that to someone other than Him, that's now shirk.
Yeah.
I can be corrected if needed. So I guess that makes me a nationalist, says Hamdan. Free Palestine. Okay. I was thinking as well, there's a discussion amongst many Muslims. Why do Muslims give so much attention to Palestine and Palestinians? Nobody's talking about other Muslims to the extent that they talk about Palestine. Is there a reason you can think of for that?
Yeah, it's well, that's a long one. Well,
there are a number of factors.
Sham. Where do you want me to start? There's a religious angle and there's the nationalistic angle. So let's say, so you can say, so even a hadith of the Prophet, so when the Prophet, I think, said to Salama, "Waylu lil Arab min sharrin iqtarab." So I think there's this, with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the rise of Arab nationalism. So you could argue that Arab nationalism was given to them by what's his name, Lawrence of Arabia, because before that they were mainly more tribalistic. I don't know if these places were actually countries before. So yeah, and if you go to, or there's authentic hadith about the virtues of the people of Sham and Masjid al-Aqsa, Suratul Isra. So there's also valid religious, I wouldn't say connotations, but there's texts which indicate the holiness of Masjid al-Aqsa and Palestine over other places. So do you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Mali is not mentioned in the same context.
It's a matter of iman, basically. It's connected to your faith.
Yeah.
Basically.
So yeah.
Although Mali would be connected if you use a different hadith, like the Muslim is like a wall, or a brick wall.
It should be
a body. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you have to remember, like, the Arab League is going to champion. The Arab League is going to champion
Arabism,
the cause
Yeah.
of the Palestine. Yeah, and all these different, these Ikhwani orientated charities are gonna.
But also there is another angle that I thought of today, and that is when Israel attacks Palestinians, or let's say Arabs, they use fighter jets, they use white phosphorus, they use all sorts of military grade weapons on civilians.
Yeah.
So that is a clear atrocity that you're witnessing, and that necessitates speaking out, I think, or that affects people more than other forms of, I don't know, colonialism. Although that's what the French did in the Central African Republic. They sent fighter jets and whole brigades of troops out to Central African Republic. So, but there was complete silence on that front. Those French, I don't know, mate. Hopefully, yeah, right now the UK seems to be at war with France, although it's not a physical military war right now. Yeah, they'll ruin the French government or the Islamophobes of the French. Because France is a lovely country to live in. It's a beautiful, lovely people there. It's a shame that the government is like this.
Well, the government, it has to be in a way.
Yeah.
It has to maintain this neo-colonial because basically without Africa, France collapses. They don't have any other sphere of influence in the world. So North and West, large swathes of Africa are still very francophone, and the French is different from British colony. They never really left. France hasn't really left these countries. They still have military bases, economic operations. They still have lots of, and like you mentioned before, there's Quebec, and then there's French Guyana in the south, man.
Yeah.
So France is it's a different kettle of fish. Yeah.
Well, Abu Zainab, my battery is flashing at 4%.
Okay.
And this StreamYard thing is gonna run down very quickly. So I'm gonna have to end the show, sadly. But thanks for jumping on. And thanks to everyone else that's watching. Big up to Ralph for jumping on as well. And Abu Bilal, big up brother. Hamid Hamdan, Shivites Jagannath, Nikki Travis, Cookies and Cream, Luton, big up. And Observer, CLI, Bird Nest, big up to all of you. May Allah bless you all. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Big up.